The Hall of Warriors. The master stood within the lanyard of the hammer. Behind him the hall opened into a space encircled by 25 windows. The central window, facing due south, was taller and wider than the rest. It looked the length of the hall, depicted spheres upon spheres, infinite in number, infinite in size. The other windows each bore an image of a hooded, cloaked warrior with sword unsheathed and pointed to the sky. In a horseshoe formation beneath, opening to the hall, 24 warriors knelt on stepped plinths, each the source of their depiction above. Only the middle plinth, the largest of them, the one beneath the great window, was left bare of its lord. They sat, eyes closed, in order of pairs, a male and a female, still as statues, draped in dark grey cloaks that fell from shoulders to reveal belted jerkins beneath. Each had a knife at the belt, an oaken staff, and 2 sheathed swords, one short, one long. Lights streamed from other windows that repeated like pillars of emptiness, running the length of the hall. They too depicted nothing but infinite, overlapping spheres. The light fell across the floor and over 12 children, each of 7 years, who sat kneeling, 4 rows, 3 deep. Small, dark grey statues, 6 boys and 6 girls. Dark grey cloaks from their shoulders reached the ground. The master spoke. The second stage of your education is to begin. You have spent your lives immersed in solitude. You have known only nature and the monks. Soon you will apply your clarity, but to do so you must build your knowledge. Use your clarity to understand yourselves in relation to an environment that you have never before known. You will have known 3 worlds in your time. The first you have lived. The second you will now learn in your time in this high valley. The third you will know when you apply what you have learned. Once you have completed your work, you shall return to the first of those worlds. There you shall remain. As you go forward from this day, you will understand more and more of what you are in this world and what you are intended to be. There is little of it you will understand on this first day of your teaching, but with your clarity you will learn fast. You will understand your physical and mental existence. You will understand of what you are a part, and then you will join the world of man. You will be placed in pairs, 1 male, 1 female. You will not always remain in pairs, but you shall understand that you shall know more together than apart. You will learn that males and females see differently, and one will see what the other does not. For that reason you shall always communicate, so that you see as much as possible. Your education here shall last for 12 years. Each year another class like yours will arrive. You are the first. As you mature, you shall assist in the teaching of the younger. You shall understand that you are all of one family, and you shall respect each other as you shall rely on each other. These warriors behind me are called the 24. They shall be your teachers. They shall train you further in meditation. They shall train you in athletics, gymnastics, healing, farming, and horsemanship. But they shall also train you in the art of war. Also, further in mathematics, sciences, humanities, business, and law, subjects integral to the human experience. These subjects mean nothing to you now, but with clarity and discipline you shall master them before you leave. Before you begin training with the 24, I will establish you in our tradition. You shall come to understand the words that I will give to you. You shall understand them as fundamental to who you are. You shall understand them as the reason for your training. Therefore, heed these words well, but mark that they shall be repeated, and know that they must become one with you. Body. Your body is the vehicle that facilitates all interaction between yourself and other manifested forms. Through this interaction, you mature. The body facilitates our entire knowable existence. For this reason, you shall first understand how to keep your body in health. Never be limited by weakness at this most superficial level of your being. Underlying the physical, you have the ability for thought. You have the ability to reflect upon, learn from, and respond to all of that which happens within your sphere of perception. This is your mind. At the most superficial level of your mind is your mind's contact with your physical body. At the deepest level of your mind is your mind's contact with the forms, the existence that underlies your mind, just as your mind underlies your body. Just as the mind requires a certain environment for it to achieve its full potential of capability, so too does the body. Here those environments are provided so that you may learn their ways and ingrain them into your understanding so that they shall remain with you uncorrupted. You shall learn to understand your body and the nutrients it needs. Likewise, you shall understand you shall not burden the body with what it does not need. You shall learn to choose, but you shall understand your choice as need-based. You shall align your desire with your need. You shall understand that you ingest for a specific practical purpose, to satisfy a specific practical need. You shall not desire that which you do not need. While you are here, you shall understand what is given to you as that which you need. You shall not desire more. You shall not take less. You shall be directed here, such that when you leave, you shall understand and shall follow your habit. While here, you will suffer hunger and thirst, so that you will learn to ignore hunger and thirst. That way you will learn to function when hungry and thirsty. You shall learn to conserve. You shall understand that by these experiences you shall learn to choose wisely when circumstances require a choice be made. The framework of the body is a skeleton of bone. It protects and supports. You shall develop strong bones, and this shall lessen the risk of your injury. Your bones shall be familiar with activities that require their strength. You shall develop the bones of your arms and legs until you can leap great distances and from great heights without injury. You shall strengthen your skeleton through rigor. Muscle moves bone. Through the strengthening of muscle, you will better be able to respond to the requirements of a changing physical environment. This will lessen your risk of injury. Every environment changes constantly. You will learn not to be surprised by change. You will learn to expect it, and you will learn to foresee it. But you will never foresee all, and so you must develop your ability for fast, determined, coordinated movement. Through your strength, you will better respond and protect yourself. You will be less at the mercy of your environment and the harms it may hold. Your heart moves your blood to and from your lungs. You will learn to control your heart through your breath. You will understand how the two act as one. You will understand when you need more air and less air. You will learn to calm yourself so that you may remain beneath water for long periods, so that you may ambush in silence. You shall understand that all of the systems of your body are connected, how they rely upon each other for health and strength. By this understanding, you shall derive the most from your body as your faithful tool and servant. It must serve your will, and it must meet your expectations. You must train it to do so. You shall engage in the constant and diverse exercise of your body, so that your body is diverse in strength. You shall be flexible, efficient in your use of energy. You shall only make those movements that are necessary. You shall maintain self-control, conserve your energy, maximize your capability for sustained, vigorous effort. You shall be calm amid sustained, vigorous effort. That way you shall derive rest from exertion. You shall learn to rest so that your body can rebuild. All the time you must look to further your capability. You cannot afford to be slack in your method. If you are, we will lose. The focus and heart of your work is to promote excellence. Therefore, at all levels of your person, you must promote excellence. Your life and that of your companions depend upon your excellence. You will come to be a master of what is held in common. You will come to be the master of yourself. You shall learn that you must understand two forces in all that you do. The first is the force you create. The second is the force that shall work against you. Therefore, you must strengthen yourself so that the force you create is powerful. You must understand how to employ your entire spirit in everything that you do. Your spirit will be at one with your companions. That way, when you strike, it will be with the single strike of many at once. You must also understand the force that resists you. You must learn how to recognize that force so that you can flow through it and around it like water. You shall learn this first by swimming. You shall study your movement through the water and shall understand how to move quickly by being graceful in movement. You will then apply what you have learned to your fighting art. You must, by your movement, do all to remain untouched by the resistive force. You must strive to be invisible by moving silently and smoothly. If you cannot be invisible, then you must be slippery so as to remain ungraspable. Never be where you are expected to be. Always be where you are not expected to be. When the resistive force cannot grasp you, you shall strike from shadows with the force of many. You shall strike only with necessary force. You shall strike carefully so that you need only strike once. Learn to conserve through accuracy. That way you will be fast. When the resistive force cannot touch you, and when you conquer with but one strike, your enemy's fear shall become his greatest enemy, and you shall not need to strike again. You shall train with your head high to enable your breathing and the movement of your blood. You shall train for endurance, and you shall train for speed. You shall train to apply power when you are fatigued. You shall train for confusion, to adapt when stressed. In all you do, you shall move with the direction and determination, in a focused, alert, and controlled manner. But you shall always be relaxed, even when stressed, for if you are not relaxed, then the systems of your body will lose touch with the water that gives them life. Always be aware of your body. Always move in the direction of your goal. Mind. Your mind shall rule your body and shall direct the actions of your body. Your mind shall take into account the needs of your body as requested by your body. You shall understand your body as a vehicle for your mind by which to interact and communicate with exterior entities. It shall be through the actions of your mind that your body takes shape. Your body must be prepared for and must undergo whatever task your mind pursues. You will see in your enemy that what his mind directs for his body's undertaking will always be a mixture of beneficial and detrimental activity. Man's mind is not clean. His desires are not aligned with his objective interests. He lives an existence that is more subjectively governed than your own. He will often be unaware of the reason behind his action. You will note that your enemy shows signs of ill health. This is his weakness, and you shall exploit it. You shall cause him to perceive his body as ill-equipped. You shall instill frustration in him. This shall cause fear and confusion, causing him to weaken further, and you shall exploit this furthering of his weakness. You shall feed on the strength derived from your physical health, and you shall apply this strength towards creating in yourself a stronger and more capable mind. You shall quiet and open your mind through your focus on physical work. You shall then apply this focus in its honed state towards other tasks. The more self-sufficient your body is in its healthful capability, the less your mind will need to attend to it. Your mind can then attend itself more completely to other matters of greater complexity, greater influence and importance. As your mind strengthens, so shall your body, and as your body strengthens, so shall your mind. You shall set as your goal the perfect functioning of your mind and body. Though you may never achieve your goal, you must strive for nothing less. You must sculpt yourself in every way towards health and capability, strength and efficiency. Only then shall you be victorious in battle. The stress you shall feel shall be constant. You shall invite a controlled allowance of specific stress. You shall direct it around your body and mind. This shall result in a beneficial strengthening of the body and mind. You shall apply foresight to foresee the reoccurrence and patterns of events. By being prepared, you will prevent disruption to the more important considerations of your mind. This process shall result in a balanced strengthening of your mind and body. You will better be able to contend with the diverse potential stresses you will face, and you will be less prone to imbalance. In your mind, as in your body, different forms of stress exist. These stresses will originate sometimes by self-prescription and sometimes from exterior sources within your environment. All stress in your mind is a response to something taking place within your sphere of awareness. The manifested stress itself can be affected, either calmed or inflamed, by changes brought about by your mind in regards to its response to these occurrences. Some occurrences are of potential detriment to your person, and your stress will be based in an instinct of self-preservation. In this way, the stress will act as a warning to your mind. Alternatively, stress will come about as a result of a self-prescribed action designed by your mind to challenge yourself to exercise in order to strengthen. You must not lose your balance in exercise. You must not allow this stress to become dangerous. If your mind is not able to balance the stress of work with rest, then the stress will break down the capability of the mind and will eventually render the mind useless. To prevent this, you shall accustom your mind and your body to dynamic and challenging movement. By exposing the mind to vigorous requirements, you shall better process information. If you have not accustomed your mind to dynamic and challenging thought, it will take longer for you to effectively process new information. It is necessary for you to be able to process new information fast, so that you can respond to the unknown and the unexpected effectively. You must expect the unexpected, and you must apply dynamic thought to navigate the unexpected. When you are faced with the unexpected, you will not know the exact nature of what you contend with. It is impossible to directly prepare for the unexpected, so you must indirectly prepare for the unexpected. To prepare for the unexpected, be familiar with all perceivable relevant information and be ready, focused, and alert. You must embrace the unexpected and adapt to it. You must not be distracted by the stress of the unexpected. By embracing the unexpected, you may remain in a state of restfulness. By embracing the unexpected, you will avoid being overly committed to a path that may not materialize. Do not entrap yourself by preparing more than is warranted. It is of the utmost importance to discern very carefully the relative importance of action and events. The amount of energy that you spend on any activity should be in direct proportion to the particular objective importance of the benefit of that activity to your personal situation, as discerned through careful inspection of yourself and your situation. The importance of this dictates that you shall come to understand how to calculate the probability of future events, and you shall learn how to increase and decrease their probability to take into account your desired path. You must be able to intelligently and completely dissect and discern the nature of events you come into contact with. To do this, you shall train your mind to be sharp and focused, capable of critical thought, sensitive to subtlety, and able to calculate the usefulness of any given distraction. Stress will prove to be the greatest distraction by which your enemy will suffer, and the presence of that stress shall be for him itself a source of stress, and it shall cripple him. You will avoid this by accepting stress into your life. You shall learn to be keenly aware of your stress threshold. Your mind, through self-awareness and by using stress as a measure, must discover the greatest degree of exertion that it and your body is capable of sustaining over time, without requiring in response an impractical amount of rest in order to recover. You shall use stress as an informative tool, and you shall train your threshold to be high. You shall constantly engage in a comprehensive exploration of your strengths and weaknesses, and a comprehensive and focused strengthening of those weaknesses in order to achieve balance. You must work to strengthen that which lacks strength, so that it does not become a weakness that undermines your strength. As your mind achieves a balanced state, it can focus on activities that are directed towards a more complete experience of the mind. It is through this manner of strengthening that you may improve your overall threshold capability. As this capability increases, so too will your ability to successfully engage in ordinary tasks. You will better overcome the challenges laid by the unexpected. You will more fully engage in activities of your own prescription. Through the self-prescribed application of stress, you will learn to harness stress to combat stress. You will learn to be fully restful, and through that strength and focus of the mind, you will achieve more with each thought, and will require less thought to achieve your goals. You will have achieved a state of greater mental efficiency. In summary, your mind has the ability to influence the course of change both in your internal self and in your external environment. Through an understanding of the needs of the internal mechanisms of the body, your mind shall design your physical intake to benefit those mechanisms and not to damage them. Thus you shall lessen the risk of illness. Through an understanding of your relation to your physical environment, your mind shall direct your body towards agility and ability. Thus you shall avoid potentially harmful factors within your environment. Your mind must focus effectively. Focus of mind must be strengthened and disciplined over time. You will learn to treat the intake of the mind as you treat the intake of the body. You will understand that if your mind is challenged to adapt and strengthen, it will gain in capability. Neither your body nor your mind can complete a task effectively without focus. Therefore, focus of mind must be matured first. It was for that reason that you have spent the years prior to your arrival here in meditation. Your mind and your body are inseparable. To neglect any aspect of either is to damage both. With determination, your mind shall seek to understand and be sensitive to the needs of both. The body acts according to the control and guidance of the mind, and cannot therefore bring about a greater state of personal strength without the mind's direction and guidance. But the mind will always be to some extent or in some way detrimentally affected by a body that lacks capability. Likewise, the body will always be detrimentally affected by a shortcoming of the mind that guides it. The mind shall inevitably bring about a state of health and capability of body that will correspond exactly with its own. In this way, the body is a manifestation of the mind's own state that evolves in direct correlation to the mind's own changes. The mind, through increases in the range of experience attained and through the greater capability of body attained over time, evolves in itself in direct response to the benefit offered through the state of greater physical health. The master stopped speaking, and the hall, just now filled with his words, was again silent. No one in the hall had moved. The statue-like figures of the 24 remained unchanged, and even the children remained absolutely still. Only the light moved as the sun shifted further to the south. The master spoke again. You have now heard of the body and of the mind. Now you shall hear of what underlies them both, and how it shall apply to your decisions. The master spoke again. You have now heard of the body and of the mind. Now you shall hear of what underlies them both, and how it shall apply to your decisions. Absolute Infinity. Learn the following two precepts and come to understand them. The universe is an absolutely infinite, boundless sphere embodying perfect balance. The manifested universe consists of the embodiment of absolute infinity. The universe is an absolutely infinite entity. Absolute infinity is a state of absolute balance. Absolute balance constitutes absolute harmony. The universe, when considered as particularized existence, exists as an unbounded sphere. Particularized existence is the physical manifestation of all that can be. It is the embodiment of absolute potential. The universe is a singular entity containing all potential of existence. The universe contains infinite subverses of infinite formal diversity. The universe is the overall environment in which all potential formally exists. Of that universe, the existence you know is a microcosm of one subverse. From within this subverse stem an infinite array of further subverses, each no less distinct than this. The existence you know is infinitely limited in its scope of perspective. Your physical, mental, and imaginative existence is limited to manifestation as you know it, as it is relevant to you. You must understand that the manifestation of existence in its entirety stretches infinitely from what you know to what you do not know. It stretches in all possible directions and in all possible ways. It stretches to include that which is, formally, beyond the most expansive limits of your comprehension or imagination. Now, imagine and from your meditation understand that these are merely words placed to describe what you know. Understand what lies beneath. Let the words fall into place in your mind on their own. Imagine absolute infinity as a point of no dimension, but of infinite density of potential. Imagine that were this point to be looked at in such a way as to view individually all of its infinite potential, an unbounded sphere of manifestation would be apparent, within which all manifestation would be represented. As particular manifestation, our imagination is tied to our experience, which limits our imagination from discovering what is beyond our experienced existence. We are only able to imagine manifested aspects of this unbounded sphere that bear infinitely close relation and relevance to what we experientially know. But it is precisely through the imagination that we are able to discern what else is outside of our experienced existence. Anything that is imaginable exists within the unbounded sphere. Exercise your imagination to allow an appreciation of what lies in wait. You are supplied with the ability to imagine, and with the ability to reason. It is with the imagination that you can discern the nature of situations that you have not personally experienced. The reasoning faculty can then see in what way it chooses to act after consideration of both actual and imagined experience. The imagination can be used to great advantage by the mind. The imagination can be set to the task of imagining what would be a more desirable state of existence. You can then determine, using reason, to what extent the imagined existence is within reach, what can be done to bring about the imagined state, and what the repercussions of such actions would be. In this way, we become more aware of various aspects of existence, more aware of the way they affect each other and influence each other. What may seem desirable within the imagination might only seem so as the repercussions have not been entirely reviewed. Likewise, immediate repercussions that seem undesirable might be desirable because of what can come about in the longer term as a result. Your goal fundamentally is to move closer to an existence of perfect balance. Change exists within the experience of all finite manifestation, and much of that change is subject to the influence of the individual entity. Therefore, remember the conjunction of imagination and reason. Following the exercise of imagination, reason must be employed to decide what change is desirable and what change is not. The purpose of reason is to respond not only to your perceived environment, but also to what your imagination has discovered. With knowledge of the inevitability of change, you, as individual reasoning entities, may take a degree of conscious control over what ways change occurs in your lives. Having balanced scenario with repercussion, and having established an acceptable point of compromise and realistic expectation, you can begin to influence factors within your environment. These influenced factors shall then themselves cause ripples of occurrence that will influence aspects of their environment, causing further change. As time passes, these effects will influence the form of the environment into which you move. The environment into which you move forms simultaneously with the internal change within you, so as to be a suitable habitat for you, one which is relevant in all ways for you as you shall be at a particular point in time. You may thus bring about what you later respond to. Depending on the clarity of your reasoning, the environment that you bring about by your past actions shall more or less closely resemble what it is that you originally imagined. If your imagination is not clear, then your reason will lack a clear direction towards which to navigate. In such an instance, your reason is better applied to other, more immediate tasks. If your imagination is clear, then your reason is given a goal. An entity with a clear imagination and with a strong and disciplined faculty of reason shall always excel. The relationship between imagination and reason can take on different levels of complexity and can be set to any number of different tasks towards different ends. If a strong sense of reason is joined to an imagination lacking in scope, the reason shall take on a mechanical edge that shall lack in its comprehension of ultimate context. If the imagination is joined to a faculty of reason that lacks in its appreciation of situation, then the imagination will be stunted. This is because it is the job of the reasoning faculty to design an experiential environment that will feed the imagination. If reason is stunted, then imagination is stifled. Further, if reason is stunted, it will, in bringing about the imagination's needs, employ unnecessary means that create repercussions not relevant to the desired outcome of action. Reason must not be merely strong and capable. It must be well guided. It must question itself. It must be able to direct courses of action that do not immediately seem to satisfy needs. Different needs must be discerned and valued. Those needs that would prove in the long run to be quickly fleeting must be starved in order to achieve greater needs. Every action you make brings you into contact with your surroundings and affects those surroundings. The most immediate course of action that you must take is to be sure to affect those surroundings only in ways that will bring about a result relevant to the sought-after result. So, do not needlessly alter surroundings. If you do, you will bring about unexpected consequences that will cloud your imagination and will confuse your ability to reason. So, imagine what you may see of absolute infinity, and set your reason to imitate. Your mind is the intermediary between you and your goal, the translator between your sense of balance and your physical existence. Your mind must direct its influence to bring about an environment more closely resembling what it imagines. To do this, systematically examine the different levels of your existence. See in what ways you can bring about change at all levels of your conscious existence, and thereby affect also the existence of your surroundings. As part of your study, you shall undertake exercises that strengthen and benefit, in both a particularized and general manner, the different parts of each of the three aspects of your existence, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. With your view set on absolute infinity, you shall set no limitation on what you expect to achieve. With full knowledge of the impossibility of your task, you shall strive for the achievement of absolute balance. If you strive wisely, you shall achieve heightened ability at the physical level and at the mental level, and you shall increase your balance and harmony of situation. This is your objective during your stay here in this second stage of your education, to achieve a situation of balance and harmony within a framework of capability. By achieving such heightened abilities and an increased state of balance and harmony, you shall achieve a heightened degree of influence in your environment. The greatest point of energy is a point of no dimension and absolute potential. So, by achieving ability and balance, you increase your energy. By increasing your energy, you decrease the extent to which you are subject to the influence of other entities within your environment. You will find that you can monitor the nature of the sources of influence upon you, and can choose, by increasing your degree of mastery over your energy level, what source of energy you will allow yourself to be drawn by, and to what extent. You must monitor and choose because such influences can be of either benefit or detriment to you. Because you have established a desired outcome, the benefit and detriment must be considered in the context of achieving that desired outcome. There are three ways of understanding benefit and detriment as regards desirability. The first way consists of your desired outcome. The root of intention in this case is a point of consciousness subject to your limited perspective as regards manifested events. As the root of intention is subject to your limited perspective, you cannot fully know what is of benefit and what is of detriment. Therefore, your ability to fully adjust your attention according to a set scale of desirability is of limited capacity. The second way consists of what is in your interest as seen by a separate entity. This position is subject to the limited perspective of the separate entity as regards manifested events. The separate entity is able to see, through being separate, aspects of effect that are invisible to you, and is at an advantage to the extent its awareness of aspects of effect and the extent of the influencing strength of those aspects of effect is greater than yours. The separate entity is, however, at a disadvantage to you in respect of not being the entity in question, within which are the primary forces of need. Such primary forces are inherently more accessible to the entity in question, but this depends on the degree of awareness the entity in question has of itself. You shall train in such a way that there shall be few who understand your interests better than you, and you shall have the tools to discern who those entities are. The third way is the objective fundamental of what is in your better interest. This is a viewpoint that is not subject to limitation of perspective as regards manifested events. This is a viewpoint that takes into account the intention of the entity itself, and the forces currently guiding the entity towards such intention. Also, it is one wherein the intentions and motivations behind all other potentially influencing entities can be seen, such that the greater picture of all that acts on the entity in question can be taken into account and balanced. Only with such a viewpoint can it be absolutely clear what is a fully beneficial course of action to take. This is the viewpoint that you shall not achieve, but shall always strive for. The necessary course, from the perspective of any entity in question, is a linear one, in that it is subject to a finite temporal existence. Because of this, your course of action over time determines your existence as you continue through time. Because of your linear path, although your outcome is objectively inevitable, your outcome will be subject to your influence within your perspective and the perspective of any other manifested entity. You must understand, therefore, that control of future events is only relevant at the level of finite perspective, where inevitability, of course, is not perceivable in its entirety. Because you cannot see the inevitability of your course, you must take interest in your course and put into effect your intention. The manner by which an inevitable destination can be reached must therefore be within your intention before it can be reached. Until you take intentional interest, your course shall be swayed from your direct path by the influencing forces of entities of relative strength. Now you can see the complex web of influencing forces and how each acts upon all others, directly or indirectly. Understand this interaction as a web of precarious, infinitely intricate balance. Through positioning yourself in regards to different forces of influence, you create your future entity. Your task is to understand in what way you shall best serve your future entity. It is in your interest to increase your energy to as great an extent as possible, so as to not be uncontrollably affected by potential influence. You shall then be more able to directly send yourself into your intended and desired sphere of influence. To create your future entity, you must apply intuitive and conscious control. To apply these controls, you must understand that there is an order by which such controls are set in place. First, there is intuition, without conscious understanding. Second, there is conscious intention. Third, there is intuitively guided conscious control. First, intuition without conscious understanding is a raw, unrefined, and powerful means of creation. It is also not reliable in its focus, and it is difficult to direct towards a desired outcome. Its potential to cause considerable effect is beyond question. This is a force of power that can eclipse the power of pure conscious intention, but due to the difficulty inherent in the directing of such energy, the energy of conscious intention has the potential to be more efficient and greater in the longer term. Second, through the birth of conscious intention, you shall discover your ability to focus energy and apply it in a reliable manner towards the completion of tasks. It is here that you establish an ability to actually direct your own creation. You will gain the ability to comprehend different forces relevant to your action in terms of influence, and to harness different energies inherent in your environment towards the completion of your intended task. To begin with, you must hold at bay the dynamism of your intuitive energy. Despite being largely affected by such energy, you will, so long as that internal energy is primarily tapped, be unable to learn the craft of the arrangement and the use of energies inherent in your environment. Therefore, you shall purposefully lessen your own force as a source of energy for yourself in order to focus on external arrangement. In focusing on external arrangement, you shall learn the subtleties of your surroundings without the inclusion of any great intuitive energy of your own. This is the power of balanced arrangement. It is an inherent power of energy that is accessible through commonality. It is an ambient energy and is reliable in terms of its usage by an entity to achieve a certain degree of intensity in its ability to focus concerted energy. But it may only achieve so much, and never the extent of what you will seek. Third, intuitively guided conscious control is the most powerful of creative methods. This can only come about when you have mastered the method of conscious control without intuition, including the understanding and appreciation of the ambient forces and energies of the environment, and the direction and manipulation of those through their channeling to benefit your own intention. Once you have mastered such method, then you may incorporate once again your own inherent intuitive energy. Through the ability developed, the control of energies inherent in the environment, you shall be in a better position to work towards the harnessing of your own powerful energy towards a certain end. The careful focusing of the available energy from yourself as a power source, and the manipulation of environmental forces to work in a way that complements and gives means for the transmission and embodiment of that energy is essential. If the delicate balance of energy control is not carefully established, the powerful energy in question shall be lost to the environment and will disperse to surrounding systems. Such will cause an ebb in your energy, and during this time you will become weak and subject to your surroundings. All energy must be somehow manifested, and will remain constant unless subject to an outside force that can either give or take energy from a particular system. In this case, through a vital flaw in your ability to harness and balance a certain quality of energy towards a certain task, that being its own transformation over time, a massive loss of your energy to another system would result. To fully understand the process of the creation of your future, you must expand your understanding of time. Your perception of time is limited to finitude. You understand time as a one-directional linear passage. To comprehend time, you must think beyond the manner by which you experience it. Your understanding of time comprehends a stream of events happening in a particular order, one growing out of the next, all influenced by a steady flow of outside forces that are themselves unfolding in the same manner. So as to be sensitive to the unknown purpose of certain events as they take place, you shall learn to reverse your view and understand that just as it was necessary for the establishment of present conditions for past events to take place, so too is it the case that in order for certain events of the future to come about, events of a certain nature must happen in the present. By comprehending time in this way, you will be able to appreciate the position of the objective inevitability of events as viewed in a manner separate from the standpoint of any given entity. You will understand events from the standpoint of all points in relation to all other points in time, and by this understanding you shall avoid the rejection of unexpected events that serve an unknown purpose. You must become sensitive to this so that you can discern the hidden meaning of such events as they manifest and comprehend them to your advantage. In this way you shall understand manifestation as an event in and of itself, not as an existence that is itself limited to the perspective you yourself have. You shall always be, as a particular entity, governed by finite perspective. This does not mean that the object of your view is so limited in its reality. Balance. You must properly understand balance if you are to seek to achieve balance. To have balance in your living situation is necessary, but understand that the balance you must seek is not between good and evil, to use the language of the world you will enter, but between oppositional forces in the realms of physical and psychic manifestation. You shall view good as being an altogether perfect balance, a nullification of all oppositional force. When you seek balance, you are left with that which all oppositional forces share in common. Balance is a state that consists of what is left after all manifested matter has cancelled itself out. It is zero, nothing. In terms of the physically or psychically manifested, it is a state without attributes, and is therefore indescribable. It is consistency embodied through absolute silence. Good and evil are not in opposition. Good exists in the absence of evil. Evil can be in opposition to good, but good cannot be in opposition to evil. Good is the same as absolute infinity, and there is no opposite to absolute infinity, no opposite to zero. Zero consists of nothing, but holds absolute potential. No finite entity is the opposite of absolute infinity. Absolute infinity, like zero, is that which is made up of all entities, all values, in a perfect balance. A balance wherein every entity holds its actual objective level of importance in relation to all other manifestation, and thus disappears. It is in this way that good and evil must be understood if they are to have meaning. So, to keep your balance means to keep each individual aspect of yourself from gaining too much influence to the detriment of other segmented aspects that are objectively equally or more important. You must not sway between balance and imbalance. Instead, manage the swaying imbalances in yourself so that you may be balanced. To be without sway is to be balanced. To be between swaying and steady is not balance, but is to be out of balance, despite the presence of a degree of balance.